All right. Hi, Dan.
What's up, Chad? What's happening, dude?
Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. Just, just aliens flying around and mystical crafts coming towards Earth and
interstellar objects
and potential new congressional hearings and
definitely new congressional hearings. We got a date recently, or at least a time frame. The very beginning of September, we should have a next congressional hearing.
Amazing.
Looking forward to that very much. There's a lot going on, a lot to digest, but we thought we'd do something a little weird and fun today. Something just for the sake of the fun of it.
I like it.
So there's this I call it a document. This is a highly argued over document, which is basically what?
It purports to be a briefing to Ronald Reagan in like early 1980s.
It's supposed to be between March 6th and 8th of 1981. Yep.
Right, at Camp David, where he was briefed on UFO, UFO and alien intelligences and them visiting the Earth and certain programs. But basically him being updated by everything that's happened in the government previous to him.
Sure. Kind of like his big presidential briefing on UFOs and aliens.
Yeah. And this paper says it's a leak of the transcript, and whether or not it's real, it's really interesting because we know certain conversations like these have happened with presidents
for sure
in the past, and it's just like kind of a fun way to glimpse inside of what those might look like and what could be out there and everything. And I love the idea of kind of reading through this.
Sure.
Because we've both read it and we're like, oh, this is actually really awesome, even if it is fan fiction or whatever it might be. It still kind of shows what's going on out there and how these might go.
Like so, most likely, this is heavily leaning towards not being real, but it's a fun read. And like you said, it might give us a glimpse into how these conversations might go in real life or how they might actually go. But we're going to do a read through. And when you hear the voice of Ronald Reagan, that's not Chatter Me. That is my friend James Landrith, who is just a big fan of the UFO disclosure movement. We're in a couple, these like signal chats with a bunch of fun folks talking about the topic. But I mentioned in that chat that we might do a read through, and my friend James was like, I would love to do the voice of Ronald Reagan.
Yes.
So he's a voiceover actor. He does voiceover work. But so when you hear Mr. Reagan, that is our friend James. And
yes, James.
But we're going to read through. It might be sloppy. We might get lost along the way. There's a lot of people talking here. We got William Casey. We have the president. We have different advisors that were apparently possibly in the room. I mean, if this is a hoax, which it probably is, it's done very well, and time was put into it.
I agree.
But let's dive in. So Chad has a couple. You're gonna read the parts of the Caretaker. We'll find out who the Caretaker was. And just follow along. We're gonna say the name of who's speaking as we read through. So when we'll know who's talking at all times. But let's see how it goes.
Great.
So transcript of classified tape recording made at Camp David, Maryland, during a presidential briefing, released 27A, the Reagan briefing. Supposedly a transcript of classified tape recording made at Camp David, Maryland during a presidential briefing regarding the subject of unidentified flying objects and extraterrestrial visitation of Earth. President Ronald Reagan was present. The recording was made between March 6th and March 8th, 1981. William Casey. Mr. President, good morning. As we discussed in February, this briefing contained some very sensational and some very, very classified information. I'm not going to make a decision on who you want in the room. That will be your decision, Mr. President. This will be a real tough one to follow since the briefing starts back, historically speaking, that is, and runs up to recent times. I believe we have prepared a good chronological order of events. I'm sure you, Mr. President, will have many questions. The list of questions presented to me by advisor number 2 should all be answered during this briefing. I hope they are. More than anyone, especially you, Mr. President, leave this briefing with questions still unanswered. I have asked the caretaker to conduct this briefing. He is a contract employee of the CIA and is the present custodian of the information. Are we to assume that everyone is present?
President.
Well, it'll be entirely up to you, Bill. I guess everyone must be cleared for this briefing of information. Is that correct?
Well, it appears everyone is, but as you will see, Mr. President, this stuff is pretty high up on the food chain. We call it ATS, or above top secret. This stuff has its own classification and markings. We have a special container, special printers, and copiers for this stuff. Every word of this material is printed on special paper, then placed inside special covers. The caretakers have taken special efforts to protect all of this stuff from being released inadvertently or copied by some unauthorized person. But all of this material is protected by a special group of people. The caretaker is in charge of protecting this information and all of the other stuff associated with this information. I would prefer that you, Mr. President, decide on who you want in this room. Remember, this material is a closely guarded secret, although the gist of the story has been out for many years. Very little of the actual truth has ever been released to the public. Oh, yes, well, by some of the renegades maybe, but many of them have been discredited.
Okay, Bill, I guess we need advisor number 1, you, advisor number 3, and Casper here. I think advisor number 2 and Michael can leave.
Advisor number 2. Mr. President, excuse me, but I would prefer to leave. I don't wish to know this information. You know, plausible denial or something like that. Deniability, I guess. Michael Deaver. Mr. President, whatever you wish, I'll do. It would be an interesting subject, but do I really have a need to know? No, I don't think so.
Okay, I guess that is it.
W.M. Casey. Thank you, Mr. President. I will now turn the briefing over to the caretaker. Advisor number 3. Mr. President and Mr. Director, I already had the briefing. I can stay or leave. Secretary Weinberger and myself received this a few weeks ago.
Secretary Weinberger. Oh, Mr. President, as you know, we have some pending business regarding that Soviet problem in Berlin. I think we might just handle that. Advisor number 3 and I will let you close this meeting to just a few.
Okay, Casp, I guess that you and advisor number 3 can leave. Thanks for coming.
W.M. Casey. Okay, Mr. President, that certainly narrows the audience. I think this is just right.
Okay, well, I can't wait to hear this. Let's proceed.
The caretaker. Good morning, Mr. President. First of all, I would like to give you a bit of information on my background. But before that, please, Mr. President, if you have questions during this briefing, just interrupt me, sir. I have been employed by the CIA for the past 31 years. I started the caretaking status of this project in 1960. We have a special group of people whom we call Group 6 that cares for all of this information.
Well, good morning. I believe I will ask questions. Bill briefed me back in January, but I'm not sure. Was it detailed? No, I don't think so. Okay, well, I'm sure Bill didn't tell me all, because we only had about 1 hour.
W.M. Casey. Mr. President, I only gave you a quick briefing for the NSDD, which is the National Security Decision Directives, that we want to incorporate into the overall action directives about this subject. Advisor number 3, Casper, and I have details far beyond what I knew before January. The last administration wasn't too keen on making all of this stuff accessible to us during the briefings in November and December.
Well, I knew a little bit about this subject before. Back in 1970, Nixon had all the good stuff and wanted to share it with some of his friends. Nixon showed me some papers. Not sure about who authored them, but, something about New Mexico and other places. Nixon was pretty, fascinated with them. He showed me something, some kind of object or device that came from one of their craft, something that was taken from the New Mexico crash site. I don't know if, do we know what it was? I don't even think we knew, or maybe now, after 11 years, we might know.
The caretaker. Mr. President, I can answer some of those questions. Do you wish for me to begin?
Oh, what level is this? I mean, what was it called? I don't remember what they called this.
W.M. Casey. Mr. President, Code word. It's called top secret code word. This information is beyond top secret, as I said before. It has its own classification. It is very compartmentalized.
Well, I guess just the minimum. Are we recording this?
The Caretaker. Mr. President, no, unless you wish.
WMKC. Yes, it is CIA female transcriber who is doing that. I think we should. I don't want to make any mistakes later about this. Advisor number 4 should also stay since he is one of the caretakers, of the information.
Well, I don't want anybody leaking this stuff, not knowing what we're about to discuss. Well, Bill, I guess it's your call. Advisor number 4 should stay. I guess he should. Okay, well, you make the call, Bill.
WMKC. Okay, I guess advisor number 4 will stay, but I think CIA female transcriber must stay. I'll make that call.
Okay, I guess we can do our business first. Give me a few minutes. Let's get some food first, or snacks. How long, about 1 hour?
The Caretaker. Mr. President, I estimate this will last about 1 hour, at least the first part of it. This is a very complicated subject to brief. I can do it, but maybe the questions will extend beyond the first time period.
Okay, I see. Let's take a break and then reconvene.
The Caretaker. Okay, Mr. President, are we ready?
Yes, we are. Let's go.
Caretaker. Mr. President, as was mentioned earlier, I must say that this briefing has the highest classification within the U.S. government. I will start with a slide presentation. I have most of this briefing on the slides, but I also have an outline that I have passed out to each person in attendance.
Oh, okay. Can we follow it with the paper?
The Caretaker. Yes, Mr. President. You can follow the briefing with the outline in front of you.
Thank you.
Caretaker. The United States of America has been visited by extraterrestrial visitors since 1947. We have proof of that. However, we also have some proof that Earth has been visited for many thousands of years by various races of extraterrestrial visitors. Mr. President, I'll just refer to those visits as ETs. In July 1947, a remarkable event occurred in New Mexico. During a storm, 2 ET spacecraft crashed. One crashed southwest of Corona, New Mexico, and one crashed near Datil, New Mexico. The U.S. Army eventually found both sites and recovered all of the debris and one alive alien. I'll refer to this live alien as EBE-1.
What does that mean? Do we have codes or a special terminology for this?
The Caretaker. Mr. President, EBE means extraterrestrial biological entity. It was a code designated to this creature by the U.S. Army back in those days. This creature was not human, and we had to decide on a term for it. So, scientists designated the creature as EBE-1. We also referred to it as NOAA. There was a different terminology used by various aspects of the U.S. military and intelligence community back then.
Do we or did we have others? The number 1 would seem to indicate we had others.
The Caretaker. Yes, we had others. Back then the term was EBE and no number designation. We'll explain how the others came into our knowledge.
Okay, sorry. I was just wondering, and I guess, I'm sure the briefing will cover this. Please continue.
The Caretaker. All the debris and EBEs recovered from that first crash site were taken to Roswell Army Airfield, Roswell, New Mexico. EBE was treated for some minor injuries and then taken to Los Alamos National Laboratories, which was the safest and most secure location in the world. Special accommodations were made for EBE. The debris was eventually transferred to Dayton, Ohio, home of the Air Force Foreign Technology Division. The second crash site wasn't discovered until 1949 by some ranchers. There were no alive aliens at the site. All this debris went to Sandria Army Base in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Okay, a question regarding the first site. How many aliens were in the spaceship?
The Caretaker. 5 dead aliens and 1 alive. The bodies of the dead aliens were transported to Wright Field in Ohio and kept in a form of deep freeze. They were later transported to Los Alamos, where special containers were made to keep the bodies from decaying. There were 4 dead aliens in the second crash site. Those bodies were in an advanced state of decaying. They had been in the desert for the last 2 years. Animals and time got to those bodies. The remains were transported to Sandia Base and eventually onto Los Alamos. We determined both crashed spaceships were of similar design and the bodies of the aliens were all identical. They looked exactly the same. They had the same height, weight, and physical features. Here are the photographs of the aliens.
Let's take a pause for a second. It's wild so far.
Yeah.
Do you believe that these pictures, true or false, the story, do you believe that these pictures exist still to this day?
Yes. Just knowing what I know about the legitimacy of the Roswell crash,
Yeah.
it must, right?
How bad do you want to see those? More than anything.
Anything
Like kind of more than anything.
kind of more than anything. It would help solve one of those biggest questions that we keep asking ourselves and why we started this damn podcast.
Yeah, you're right. All right, let's keep going here.
Can we classify them? I mean, can we, connect them with anything earthly?
The Caretaker. No, Mr. President. They don't have any similar characteristics of a human, with exception of their eyes, ears, and a mouth. Their internal body organs are different. Their skin is different. The eyes, ears, and even breathing is different. Their blood wasn't red, and their brain was entirely different from human. We could not classify any part of the aliens with humans. They had blood and skin, although considerably different than human skin. Their eyes had 2 different eyelids, probably because their home planet was very bright.
Maybe I'm getting ahead, but do we know where they came from? Mars, our system, or where?
The Caretaker. Yes, Mr. President, we do know where they came from. I can go into this now, or I can wait until it comes up in the briefing.
No, please continue. I can wait.
Caretaker. Thank you, Mr. President. EBE stayed alive until 1952 when it died. We learned a great deal from EBE. Although EBE did not have voice organs like humans, it was able to communicate with an operation performed by military doctors. EBE was extremely intelligent. It learned English quickly, mainly by listening to the military personnel who were responsible for EBE's safety and care. EBE was housed in a special area at Los Alamos and Sandia Base. Although many different military doctors, scientists, and a select number of civilians studied EBE, it never became upset or angry. EBE helped us learn from all the items found in the 2 crash sites. EBE showed us how some of the items worked, such as a communications device. It also showed us how various other devices worked.
Excuse me, but you referring to this creature as an it. Did it have a gender?
The Caretaker. I'm sorry, Mr. President, but yes, it was male. Within EBE's race, they had males and females.
Okay, thank you. Please continue.
The Caretaker. Thank you, Mr. President. EBE died of what military's doctors considered natural causes. I don't think we could really state exactly why EBE died. Although we had 5 years to study EBE, we didn't have any standards to compare EBE's body with standard medical observations. It was difficult to lose EBE since it was the most interesting thing we as humans could receive and study. A visitor from another planet, another world. EBE did explain where he lives in the universe. We call this star system Zeta Reticuli, which is about 40 light years from Earth. EBE's planet was within this star system.
Okay, where is this in comparison to something we all know?
The Caretaker. Well, Mr. President, our closest star is 4 light years away. I can show you the constellation it is in. Alpha Centauri, a yellow star, is the brightest star in the constellation Centaurus, 4.3 light years away.
No, I wouldn't know much about astronomy. I just thought I could understand the distance. How long did it take this spaceship to get here?
The Caretaker. Well, Mr. President, I can tell you now, or we can discuss that in another briefing. As Mr. Casey said, this is a complicated subject because there are many levels of compartmentalization. This briefing is just the basic information about a visit to our planet by one particular alien race.
Well, what? Am I to understand this isn't a full briefing?
W.M. Casey. Mr. President, we have different levels of stuff. If we mix it up, I don't think it will make sense, nor will we have time this morning. I understand you have a busy schedule today.
As President of the United States, I should know everything, right? Or shouldn't I? If I am to assume this was a briefing of substance, then I should hear all of it.
W.M. Casey. No, Mr. President. I didn't mean you shouldn't know this stuff. I simply meant we should proceed in an orderly fashion as to the briefing. But it is up to you. We will not hold anything back.
Advisor number 1, what do you think? Do you know about all this?
Advisor number 1. Mr. President, yes, I was briefed many times on this subject matter. As Director Casey stated, this is a very, very complicated subject. I think it took me about 1 year to be fully briefed into all aspects of this matter. There are different areas: the initial crash, an investigative period, some attempt at contact, a disinformation operation to protect this matter, and several other levels.
Oh, wow, I didn't realize how complicated this was. I'm new at all this. I have a great responsibility to the citizens of this nation to make decisions based on accurate information presented by my advisors. You, all of you. I won't interfere in your presentation of this information, so I guess we'll proceed in the order you've chosen. I'm sorry for interrupting in this presentation, but as a person who's interested in this beyond belief, I'll just shut up and wait to ask questions.
W.M. Casey. Mr. President, no, please ask any questions you wish. You are the president. We are not here to argue with you over the order of the briefing. But some things are so highly classified that this briefing is the lowest level. If you ask a question that is in a different level, then we will have to reevaluate the audience. Advisor number 1. Mr. President, everything we know about alien visitation to Earth is contained in 16 volumes of binders. These binders contain thousands of pages. We can give you anything you wish, but, as Director Casey said, we must evaluate the clearances of each person listening to our responses.
Okay, now I understand. Give me whatever you want and I'll continue to ask questions. But if you need me to wait on an answer, just tell me.
W.M. Casey. Okay, Mr. President, we will do that. I still don't know the entire story. I have read 1/10 of one binder and have hundreds of questions.
Okay, let's continue.
The Caretaker. Mr. President, thank you for those responses. I will answer any question if I can. But if the question is above this level, then Director Casey will have to make that decision for me.
I fully understand. Please continue.
The Caretaker. It took the EBE spaceship 9 of our months to travel the 40 light years. Now, as you can see, that would mean the EBE spaceship traveled faster than the speed of light. But this is where it gets really technical. Their spaceships can travel through a form of space tunnels that gets them from point A to point B faster without having to travel at the speed of light. I cannot fully understand how they travel, but we have many top scientists who can understand their concept.
Well, I certainly couldn't understand the science in that. Is it a black hole?
The Caretaker. Mr. President, something like that, but much more complicated.
Do they get here? No, never mind. Please continue.
W.M. Casey. Mr. President, I can assure we know how they do it, but we can't do it.
The Caretaker. As to some history, the original project, started back in 1947, was called Project Gleam. This project contained volumes of documented information collected from the beginning of our investigation of UFOs and Identified Alien Craft, or IAC. The project was originally established in the early 50s by first President Truman and then by order of President Eisenhower under control of the National Security Council. President Truman established a group of people to handle this project. The group was called Majority 12, or MJ-12.
Oh, Majority 12?
Never knew that.
Is that a misprint? Or is that what it was actually called then?
I don't know.
That's fascinating.
Or the author of this just decided that sounds right.
Sure. Let's continue on as if let's move forward with it.
How is that?
Interesting.
In 1966, the project's name was changed to Aquarius. The project was funded by confidential Black World funds appropriated within the intelligence community's budget. The recovery of these alien spacecraft led the United States on an extensive investigative program to determine whether these aliens posed a direct threat to our national security. As you might remember, Mr. President, our country openly investigated UFO sightings under Project Grudge, Sign, and finally Blue Book. The original mission of the Air Force program was to collect and analyze all reported sightings and incidents involving UFOs and then determine whether the information could be interpreted as having any bearing on the national security of the United States. Some information was evaluated with the idea of using the gained data to advance our own space technology in future space programs. About 90% of the estimated 12,000 reports analyzed by the Air Force under Blue Book were considered hoaxes, explained aerial phenomena, or astronomical objects. The other 10% were considered legitimate alien sightings and/or incidents. However, not all UFO sightings or incidents were reported under the Air Force programs of Grudge, Sign, and Blue Book. In 1953, Project Gleam initiated its own investigative detail, and certain sightings were reported directly under Gleam rather than one of the other projects. Project Gleam, which became Project Aquarius in 1966, was a parallel reporting system for UFO sightings and incidents. Reports collected under Project Aquarius were considered actual sightings of alien spacecraft or actual contacts with alien life forms. We recovered 2 alien spacecraft from New Mexico. Both were heavily damaged, but were able to examine them. The 2 craft were considered technological marvels by our scientists. However, the operating instrumentation was so advanced that our scientists could not decipher it. The 2 craft were stored in a special security location in the West. We gained a large volume of technological data from these craft. Several independent scientific investigations, at the request of the Air Force and CIA, were initiated during the era of Project Blue Book. MJ-12 decided that officially the Air Force should end their investigation of UFO sightings. This decision was arrived at during the NPNN meeting in 1966. The reason was twofold. First, the United States had established communication with the aliens.
Hold on. Okay, well, Bill... No, never mind. Please continue.
W.M. Casey. Mr. President, the communications project is of a higher level. I recommend we continue on this course and then switch to the next, if we have time.
Okay, you're steering the boat, Bill.
Caretaker. The United States felt relatively sure the aliens' exploration of Earth was non-aggressive and non-hostile. It was also established that the aliens' presence did not directly threaten the security of the United States. Secondly, the public was beginning to believe that UFOs were real. The NSC felt this public feeling could lead to a nationwide panic if we disclosed everything we knew about UFOs and alien visitation. We were involved in one major operation during this time frame that involved our alien visitors. That operation is of a higher level, and it will be up to Director Casey to proceed now or wait until later.
W.M. Casey. We'll wait on that part of it. I haven't been fully briefed, and I would like to be able to know everything about that program before trying to brief the president. Advisor number 1. I agree with Director Casey. That part of the program is really complicated and will require a full day to brief.
Okay, as I said before, Bill's the captain of this ship.
The Caretaker. It was felt that public awareness of these projects would have jeopardized the future space program of the United States. Releasing our secrets about UFOs and alien visitation would also cause a panic among religious leaders around the world. Therefore, MJ-12 decided that an independent scientific study of the UFO phenomena would be needed to satisfy the public curiosity. The final study of the UFO phenomena was accomplished by the University of Colorado under an Air Force contract. The study concluded that sufficient data did not exist that would indicate that UFOs threatened the security of the United States. The final conclusion satisfied the government and allowed the Air Force to officially step out of the UFO investigating business. When the Air Force officially closed Blue Book in December 1969, Project Aquarius continued operation under control of NSC/MJ-12. The NSC felt investigation of UFO sightings and incidents had to continue in secrecy without any public knowledge. The reasoning behind the decision was this. If the Air Force continued its investigations of UFOs, eventually some non-cleared and non-briefed Air Force or DoD civilian officials would obtain the facts behind Project Aquarius. Obviously, for operational security reasons, this could not be allowed. In order to continue the investigation of UFO sightings and incidents in secrecy, investigators from CIA, DCE, and MJ-12 were assigned to military investigative units with orders to investigate all legitimate UFO IAC sightings and incidents. These agents are presently operating at various locations throughout the US and Canada. All reports are filtered either directly or indirectly to MJ-12. These agents are collecting reports of UFO IAC sightings and incidents occurring on or near sensitive governmental installations. Many reported sightings and incidents have occurred over nuclear weapons bases. The aliens' interest in our nuclear weapons can only be attributed to the future threat of a nuclear war on Earth that could affect space. The Air Force has initiated measures to ensure the security of the nuclear weapons from alien theft or destruction. MJ-12 feels confident that the aliens are an exploration of our solar system for peaceful purposes. However, we do have information, and that is at another level, that more than one alien species are visiting Earth.
Well, that is a lot to digest. I've written down many questions, but let's take a break and come back to this.
Let's take a break ourselves and think about this for a minute.
Okay.
This is dense. It's dense.
It's dense. It is, for being compartmentalized and having 12,000 page books on it. Like, probably only one page into one of those binders and it's already mind bending.
Yeah. What's neat is, like, you know, that when it said the majority 12, obviously we all know it's the majestic 12. So I wonder if that is if this is claimed to be real.
Majority 12.
Majority 12. Majority 12. Is it a typo, or is someone who made this up, like, you just using the wrong terminology? Because then they switch over to MJ12 pretty quickly.
Right.
So it could be a typo. But again, real or fake, they touch on the nukes connection, which we're very well aware of.
Right.
And this came out 2007?
Yes.
Okay, so nukes were already being talked about quite a bit at that
point. In the
point.
UFO community, yeah.
But there was like some real, like, stuff from the UFO lore and some real truths that are mixed into all of this. I don't know what a presidential briefing looks like. Does this feel like what one would be like to you? Does this feel like how it would be run?
I'm not sure, because, like, you kind of, there's so many different angles to it. Like, you know, initially, like, the need to know basis. Not all presidents have been, you know, completely briefed on this subject.
As need to know, yeah.
You know, considering that they're just 4 years in this space and whatnot, and some might not react to it as well.
Short-term employees.
Yeah.
You know? Temporary employees.
But gosh, I mean, I'd like to think that they would come at it with, like, more broad strokes at first and then zero in on certain things.
Sure.
But maybe they have to do one step at a time. I mean, I don't know how I would do it. It's just too much information.
So much information.
You're literally introducing a whole new world to an individual. And this has no idea.
And this is 40 years ago. This is almost 45 years ago.
Yeah.
So imagine if you were to brief somebody now. Let's say President Trump got briefed now. Mm-hmm. Like, that's 80 plus years of information, of dense information.
Yeah.
It's a fun read. Let's continue on.
I like it.
Okay, cool. Pick up with the president here.
I think we can continue now.
The Caretaker. Thank you, Mr. President. I will continue. In the 1976 MJ-12 report, it was estimated that the aliens' technology was many thousands of years ahead of ours. Our scientists speculated that until our technology develops to a level equal to the aliens, we cannot understand the large volume of scientific information we have gained from the aliens' craft. This advancement of our technology may take many hundreds of years. During our initial program to study the alien spaceship, we started many different projects. The first project, originally established in 1949, was to collect and evaluate medical information from the surviving alien creature, EBE-1, and the recovered alien bodies. This project medically examined EBE-1 and provided our medical researchers with many answers to the evolution theories. The next project, originally established as part of Project Gleam in 1954, became a separate project in 1966. Its mission was to establish communication with aliens. This project met with positive success and will be discussed later under a different level. Two other projects involved in the test flying of an alien ship and the cross-technology between our space program and information we obtained from EBE-1.
W.M. Casey. Now, Mr. President, we can move on to questions or a different level. Which do you prefer?
Well, I have a lot of questions, so let me ask a few and then we can move on. I guess the first question I have is their lifespan. How old is EB-1?
The Caretaker. Mr. President, the alien civilization that EBE came from is what we call the Eben Society. It wasn't a name they gave us, it was a name we chose. Their lifespan is between 350 and 400 years, but that is Earth years.
Is time the same on their planet as on ours?
The Caretaker. No, Mr. President. Time is very different on the Eben planet, which, by the way, we call Serpo. Their day is approximately 40 hours. That is measured by the movement of their two suns. The solar system containing Serpo is a binary star system, or two suns rather than one like our solar system.
Oh, well, your answer creates more questions. Okay, as I understand it, their planet has two suns. Wouldn't that mean the planet was hot? I guess that explains their eyes having two eyelids.
Caretaker. Yes, Mr. President. Their suns do not set like ours. There is daylight during their entire day, with the exception of a short time period where both suns hit the horizon.
What is life like on Serpo?
The Caretaker. Mr. President, it is called Serpo, spelled Serpo. I think that will have to be given in a different level of briefings. Mr. Director?
W.M. Casey. Yes, Mr. President, I think we're getting way ahead of ourselves. We have all that information about the visitor's planet, but we have to present that information in a different briefing.
Okay, all these levels. Something I guess I'll have to get used to it. Does all classified information have these different levels?
W.M. Casey. It is similar to a PSYOP, S-I-O-P, briefing you were given in January. We have different levels of clearances and...
No, I understand all that, Bill. I fully understand the different levels of clearances. I mean, what about the Soviets? What about the spy operations we have in Russia comparing the two? This alien information to that. Are they on the same level?
No, Mr. President. This information would be considered at the very top, whereas our spying operation inside Russia would be considered at a parallel level, but not the same.
Like apples and oranges. Okay, I see. I guess this is more than can be explained in one sitting. What about the travel from Serpo to Earth?
The Caretaker. Well, Mr. President, the distance from Earth to Serpo is about 40 light years. They can travel that in about 9 of our months. I'm no scientist, but as I mentioned earlier, they can travel that great distance by means of space tunnels. They seem to be able to bend the distance from one point to another point in space. Just how they do this must be explained scientifically.
Okay, well, very interesting. Are the laws of physics on their planet the same as our planet?
The Caretaker. Not exactly. There seem to be a little different laws, especially when it comes to the movement of their planet in relationship to their two suns. Our scientists don't understand it because it defies some of our laws of physics.
Do they use nuclear power, or what type of power do they have in those ships?
The Caretaker. Mr. President, we understand very little about their propulsion system. There seems to be 2 different propulsion systems. One they use within our atmosphere, and one they use once they exit our atmosphere. They do not have nuclear power. Their propulsion system does have some type of low-level radiation emissions, but nothing that would endanger us. It isn't like our radiation, but we call it radiation because we have nothing else to compare it with.
Have these aliens visited other places on Earth?
The Caretaker. Again, Mr. President, that would be in a different level of discussion.
I'm getting tired of hearing that answer, but I understand.
W.M. Casey. Mr. President, the Soviet Union has had their contacts with these aliens. We have a great deal of intelligence that would indicate the Soviets had their, quote, Roswell, so to speak. They know about the same as we knew. They had some bodies back in the late 50s, but our intelligence would indicate the species of aliens were different.
Okay, well then, Bill, that presents a very disturbing feeling for me. Are you telling me there are different races or species, as you said, visiting the Earth at the same time?
W.M. Casey. Caretaker, take that question.
Caretaker. Yes, Mr. President, but I hesitate to state the reason. We should have that discussion in a different meeting.
Just answer the simple question of how many different species. Don't go into details, since I'm sure it is at a different level, as I've been hearing all morning.
The Caretaker. I am sorry, Mr. President, if I upset you.
No, Caretaker, don't feel that way. I'm not upset. No, you are all my advisors. As president, I must listen to you and take your advice. I'm not upset. I'm sorry for giving you that impression. Can you tell me how many different species have visited us?
The Caretaker. Mr. Director?
W.M. Casey. Go ahead, Caretaker. Answer the President's question.
The Caretaker. At least 5.
Are they all friendly?
The Caretaker. Mr. Director?
W.M. Casey. Advisor number 1. Would you like to step in here? Advisor number 1. Mr. President, that is a very difficult question to answer. There are many parameters that we follow to evaluate the threat. However, we have little intelligence on 4 of the 5. We have plenty of intel on the Ebens. Gee, they've given us everything we asked for. They have also helped us to understand the other 4 species. I'm afraid to say, Mr. President, and please don't misunderstand my words, we think one of the species is very hostile. W.M. Casey. Mr. President, do you wish for us to continue on this track, or would you like something more private as to the discussion of this topic?
For Christ's sakes, I'm the President of the United States. I should know if we are endangered by some threat from outer space. If you have something to say about a threat posed by this one species of aliens, then I want to hear it.
W.M. Casey. Mr. President, we have intelligence that would indicate this one species of aliens have abducted people from Earth. They have performed scientific and medical tests on these humans. To the best of our knowledge, no humans have been killed. But, as Advisor Number 1 stated, the intelligence is from witnesses and we haven't thoroughly evaluated this intelligence. We have captured one of these hostile aliens. This gets into some very, very sensitive areas, Mr. President. I strongly suggest we end this discussion and move on to any further questions you might have and then get back to this. I don't think we're prepared to provide you with accurate answers to your questions about the potentially hostile aliens at this time.
Okay, but I expect this to be given to me as soon as possible. I want to know everything about these hostile creatures. So we, should start forming policies on how to deal with them. Advisor Number 1, do we have operational war plans on this?
Advisor Number 1. Yes, Mr. President, we have war plans on all potential threats to our country.
Please let us not forget the world. If these creatures attack some other country, we would have to help.
Advisor Number 1. Mr. President, we have absolutely no evidence that this particular alien race has any plans to attack the United States of America or planet Earth.
I guess we really got off the original subject, but I want to know of any threats. Don't hide anything from me. Is that understood?
W.M. Casey. Yes, sir. Advisor Number 1. Yes, sir, Mr. President. We will never hide any information about a potential threat to our country or the world. You receive daily intel briefings, and you will continue to, and we can update that briefing with any potential threat from this area.
Okay, let us continue. How many other presidents have received this briefing?
The Caretaker. Mr. President, I have briefed President Nixon, Ford, and you. President Carter was never given the entire briefing. I have no answer as to why he wasn't given the briefing.
Well, knowing that guy, he probably couldn't understand it, being from Georgia. But that's just a dry joke.
Advisor Number 1. Mr. President, I can give you some details of an incident that occurred inside the Soviet Union in 1970. W.M. Casey. Do we want to go there? Advisor Number 4. May I say something, Mr. Director? W.M. Casey. Go ahead, Advisor Number 4. Step in. Advisor Number 4. I think this particular incident inside the Soviet Union will give the President an example of what the world has and will experience in the future. There is no way we can control visitors from outer space from traveling to Earth and visiting our planet. Some astronomers find it difficult to believe that these aliens can find Earth. We are on the outer reaches of our galaxy. Our sun is one of hundreds of thousands of such stars within the galactic neighborhood. But the Ebens found us. They found Earth. And we are not the only country on Earth that has been visited by the Ebens. Now, as for the other 4 species, we know they visited us in the past and will visit us in the future. We are like a petri dish within the universe. We are a diverse planet. We must be very interesting to other extraterrestrials. I am sure other intelligent life forms in the universe must have some sort of communications among the sentient life forms. Maybe they broadcasted that Earth has intelligent life. Maybe that is why we are being visited. Getting back to Advisor Number 1, regarding the incident inside the Soviet Union. Mr. President, there are many such sightings all over the world. We must understand that the visitors can roam our planet at will without us doing much about it. However, I personally believe that we must prepare for the eventual day when some hostile life form decides to take over our planet. We must be prepared. I hope you understand why I said what I said, Mr. President.
Yes, indeed, Advisor Number 4. Very well said. I agree with you. I guess all of those sightings, well, some of them are real. I mean, we are being visited today, now, in this time period.
W.M. Casey. Yes, Mr. President, we are.
Okay, Advisor Number 1, please continue. We cut you off.
Advisor Number 1. Okay, thanks, Mr. President. As I was saying, actually, a series of incidents occurred over about a week. Our intelligence gathering stations inside and outside of the Soviet Union picked up voice transmissions between Soviet air defense pilots and ground controllers regarding a number of UFOs which were being chased by Soviet pilots. The incident started in central Siberia and ended over the Black Sea. Literally thousands of Soviets observed the UFOs, and at least 20 different fighter pilots chased the UFOs. The Soviets attempted on 2 occasions to shoot down the UFOs, but to no avail. That is probably the best evidence that these things are happening over the Soviet Union. We think these UFOs were the hostile ones. We call them hostile because they tend to land, take humans, conduct experiments on them, and then release the humans. Their spacecraft are different in design than the Ebens.
Wait 1 minute, Advisor number 1. You mean to say that we have one of their spaceships? Or are you telling me we have some other evidence of their spaceships?
Advisor number 1. Mr. President, we have photographs of their ships. This gets a little complicated because some of our intelligence comes from the Ebens.
You mean from the EBE guy?
Advisor number 1. Yes, but from other sources of information connected to the Ebens. W.M. Casey. Mr. President, we'll have to go to those dreaded words you don't like. Higher levels, if you wish.
No, well, no. Oh, okay, just give me this briefing first. We can schedule the higher level ones later.
Advisor number 1. Simply speaking, we know the difference between the Eben spacecraft and the hostile alien spacecraft.
Do you have a name for them? I mean, the bad ones.
The Caretaker. May I interrupt, Mr. President?
W.M. Casey. Wait, okay, I guess we can proceed.
The Caretaker. We call the hostile aliens simply that. HAV, meaning hostile alien visitors. MJ-12 placed that code on them back in the 50s.
W.M. Casey. Okay, we opened the box, so let's just tell the president what we know about the others. Advisor number 1. The names? What? Okay, well, technical or what? W.M. Casey. Well, okay, I guess it means the technical stuff.
You mean to say these HAVs have been visiting us and kidnapping our people since the 1950s?
The Caretaker. Mr. President, yes. Well, they have been around since then. Director Casey?
Mr. President, we have some indication that they might have been doing this for some time, but we really have to consider all of the evidence listed in our reports and compare that to some of the open source information. There are always humans that will exaggerate and just tell lies, compared to the real ones or the ones who were abducted and subjected to experiments. We have to sort through the differences and place some aside and look at the real evidence of abductions. But we can be sure that the Ebens have never done this. They are extremely peaceful and would not harm a living soul, including animals. Advisor number 1. I suggest we go ahead and give the president the information on them. Advisor number 4. I agree. W.M. Casey. Okay, give the president the names, Caretaker.
Names. The technical names?
W.M. Casey. Yes, okay. Well, about the... I can live with that. But we have to be real sure that this information stays here. We cannot allow this to flow, not understood, from not understood.
The Caretaker. Okay, thank you. Mr. President, the 5 species are called Ebens, arcquiloids, quadloids, heptaloids, and trantiloids. These names were given to the alien species by the intelligence community, specifically MJ5. The Ebens are friendly. The trantiloids are the dangerous ones.
My God, just knowing we have names for these things is amazing. Which one did we capture?
W.M. Casey. Mr. President, we have a trantiloid, but it is dead. We captured it in 1961 in Canada, and we had it in captivity until 1962 when it died. We'll show you a photograph.
The Caretaker. Director, I don't have that one with me, but I will get one couriered over to us.
W.M. Casey. Mr. President, we can provide that during our next meeting regarding this subject.
Okay.
W.M. Casey. That part of the story where, not understood, we can look back.
Okay, let's continue.
The Caretaker. Mr. President, getting back to my presentation, all of our collected information is safely contained in a number of locations.
Don't tell me where. I don't want to know specific locations. I'll let or leave that up to you and the caretakers of the material. I don't want to be in a position to know this. Maybe I will later.
The Caretaker. Okay, Mr. President, I'll keep this in general terms. I just want to assure you that all the information is safely tucked away at secure locations, including the devices and flying craft that we have.
May I assume one of these places is located in California?
The Caretaker. Some of the items are tested at Livermore and flown around Edwards, but they are kept in Nevada.
Okay, yes, I think I was briefed on sensitive military installations back in February. West of Las Vegas, I guess.
The Caretaker. Yes, Mr. President. We call it the Groom Lake Complex.
Okay, I was told about that. The same place we have the Soviet fighter jets.
The Caretaker. Yes, Mr. President, the same place. May I continue?
Yes, by all means, do.
In order to protect all of this information and the fact that the United States government has evidence of our planet being visited by extraterrestrials, we developed over the years a very effective program to safeguard the information. We call it Project Dove. It is a complex series of disinformation operations by our military intelligence agencies to disinform the public. As you know, Mr. President, we have some highly classified aircraft. In order to keep these aircraft secret, we tend to convince at times the public and press that maybe UFOs are real in order to make the public think what they are seeing are actually UFOs instead of our own secret aircraft, even though we know maybe some of the sightings are of actual UFOs. As I said before, this is complicated, but it is a form of counterintelligence. We give the public some actual facts and let them run with it. The rest is taken care of by them. If you consider the first person who helped us with this disinformation program, Mr. George Adamski, back in the early 50s, and up to all of the movie productions of UFO-related movies, this helps the public to keep their minds open, but also allows us to keep our secret aircraft away from the public's knowledge. That includes some of the craft that were lent to us by the Ebens.
I always knew there was some form of cooperation between our government and the motion picture industry. I heard rumors over the years, even during my acting days.
The Caretaker. Well, Mr. President, the first cooperative venture was the movie The Day the Earth Stood Still. That was a cooperative venture with the United States Air Force and the movie industry.
That movie, Close Encounters, that was one of them. I guess no Bonzo movies were involved.
WM Casey. No, laughing, Mr. President. I don't think, or should I say, I don't think Bonzo came from outer space. More laughter. This little context, Ronald Reagan played the character Professor Peter Boyd in the September 1951 movie Bedtime for Bonzo, where a chimpanzee named Bonzo was his co-star.
Great piece of info there.
Awesome.
No, but some people could imagine it.
The Caretaker. Yes, Mr. President. We provided the basic subject matter for that movie.
Oh, was it based on a real incident?
WM Casey. Mr. President.
Okay, Bill, I know what's coming. Just forget my question for now.
WM Casey. Okay, Caretaker, continue.
Thank you, Mr. President. In 1949, President Truman created 2 secret commissions. These commissions were to meet privately without recording any contents. The commissions were codenamed Adam and Eve. The first commission, Adam, was to study the idea of releasing some information to the public regarding our actual knowledge of UFOs and the 2 crash incidents. The findings of the Adam Commission consisted of the following statement, in quotes, "In this matter, public opinion must be recognized as a factor of considerable importance, even if clearly affirmative might have the effect of placing before the American people a moral question of vital historical significance at a time when the full security impact of the question had not become apparent. If this decision is to be made by the American people, it should be made in the circumstances of an actual disclosure of the existence of space beings who had visited Earth. In other words, the American public might hesitate to believe the existence of space beings unless the American government showed proof." End quote. This was an actual quote from the classified document dated 1st of December 1949. The second commission, Eve, concerned the use of atom bombs to repel a space alien attack. What's interesting in this statement was the decision by President Truman to proceed at a record pace on the production of atomic weapons that could be released in space. The commission predicted it would take the United States 10 years to develop such a delivery system. President Truman wanted it developed in 5 years. In fact, in 1959, the first Atlas ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles, were targeted for deep space. PSYOP plans were developed to counter any space-based alien invasion. Mr. David Lilienthal, the first Atomic Energy Commission chairman, was in charge of the production of enough atomic weapons to counter any anticipated alien threat. The commission was tasked with developing a delivery system that could send a Mark III atomic weapon into space. In the 1948-49 timeframes, there were fewer than 50 atomic bombs in the arsenal, and none of these were assembled. The Mark III plutonium bombs, like the one dropped at Nagasaki, Japan, took 39 men more than 2 days to assemble the bomb. The bombs were so large and heavy that each weighed 10,000 pounds, and that a delivery system must be capable of sending this heavy weapon into space. As a result of Eve's commission findings, atomic weapons production was increased at a record pace. Of course, this buildup coincided with the Soviet Union's buildup. It was easy to convince the American public that our buildup was caused by Soviet Union's buildup. Mr. President, in 1964, we were able to have our very first controlled encounter with the Ebens. Let me first give you the background. EBE was a mechanic, not a scientist. He was still able to teach us some of the Eben language. Their language was very difficult for our linguists to learn because it consisted of tones, not words. However, we were able to translate some basic words. EBE showed us their communications device. It was a strange-looking device that had 3 parts. Once assembled, the device sent out signals, something like our Morse code system, although there was a problem. During the crash in 1947, one part of this communication system was broken. EBE was unable to repair it until our scientists found some items that could be used in place of the broken parts. Once the communication device was repaired, EBE sent our messages. We had to trust EBE as to the content of those messages. You can imagine what some of our military commanders thought of this. EBE could be sending out a distress call that could result in some invasion, but that, of course, never happened. EBE continued to send messages until his death, but once he died, then we were on our own. We were able to crudely operate the device. We sent several messages out over a 6-month period in 1953, but we did not receive any return messages.
Excuse me, did EB receive any return messages?
The caretaker. Getting back to the messages, Mr. President, EBE sent out 6 messages. One letting his home planet know that he was alive and his comrades were dead, another explaining the 2 crashes. The third was a request to be rescued. The fourth was a message suggesting a meeting between his leaders and our leaders. The last message suggesting some form of an exchange program.
Let's take a second here. Woo! That's it's getting pretty wild now. This idea of like an alien email system kind of thing. Another thing that stands out to me that lends to this being, fabricated, is that I think we all kind of long agree that the communication is not necessarily talking. It's a telepathic kind of communication. So this talk of the language being in tones and not actual words is kind of a first that I'm aware of.
Yeah, and I'm trying to wrap my head around what tones actually means.
Like musical speech, sort of, or like is it that kind of like different?
Yeah, I don't know what tones mean, because a tone could mean so many different things.
Sure, I mean we're also coming at it from a musical mind.
Yeah,
of like, does it speak like is it like are chords certain feelings that do like that convey messages, or is it single notes, or is it subliminal? I mean, it's so interesting.
Yeah. Do they sound like a million different animals when they put together one sentence? Like, is each word like a completely different animal tone? Or is it like different like frequencies?
Yeah.
On the spectrum?
Yeah.
I don't know. That could mean, and that's so broad. Maybe they'll dive into it further.
Yeah, maybe. And this idea that it reached out to ask to be rescued was interesting. And then asked to make an agreement to like have a meeting.
And then an exchange program. That's where it gets.
This is the Serpo kind of stuff of and something that happens at the end of.
They'll bring back Elvis. We'll give you EBE one.
There you go.
Elvis.
There you go. All right. Let's keep going here. WM Casey, Mr. President. We'll go into that later.
What about the exchange program?
WM Casey. Yes, Mr. President. We can give you another couple of hours on that subject.
We had one?
WM Casey. Can I speak to you privately, please, Mr. President?
Okay, yes. You mean now?
WM Casey. Well, let us put this one on the back burner and go on with the remainder of this briefing.
The caretaker. Mr. President, we don't think he did, but we could not be entirely certain. But our scientists fine-tuned our efforts over the next 18 months and finally sent 2 messages in 1955 that were received. We received a reply. We were able to translate about 30% of this message. We turned to several linguist specialists from several different universities and even several from foreign universities. Finally, we were able to translate most of the messages. We decided to reply in English and see if the Ebens could translate our language easier than we could do theirs.
What did the messages say, the ones we received from the Ebens? So I guess they didn't get the messages sent by EB? Or did it take that long to respond? Oh, yes. EB died before we got those messages. Never mind.
The caretaker. Mr. President, the first message we received acknowledged our message and asked questions about the crew of the 2 missing craft. It also gave a series of numbers that we think were some type of coordinates.
Okay, so they wanted to know the coordinates of the crash sites on Earth? I'm sure they wanted to know about their crew. Did we tell them all but one was dead? No, wait, I'm sure when EB sent his message, probably the first thing he sent. Was EB a military person or what?
The caretaker. Mr. President, we believe EBE was a member of their Air Force or maybe something like NASA.
Oh, okay. Please continue.
Thank you, Mr. President. Finally, we were able to translate most of the messages. As I said, we decided to respond in English. Approximately 4 months later, we received a reply in broken English. Sentences contained nouns and adjectives, but no verbs. It took us several months to translate the message. We then sent Eben our typed English lessons in a series of one-sheet formats. Without going into the technical description of the Eben communications device, it was like a television screen and a keypad, but the pad contained several different Eben characters depending on the number of times you held down one key. We were able to transpose our English typed words into the second part of the device, which was similar to our facsimile transmission system. It took our scientists some time to perfect this, but it worked. 6 months later, we received another English message. This time it was clearer, but not clear enough. Ebens were confusing several different English words and still failed to complete a proper sentence.
Gee, I do that all the time. I just cannot imagine how an alien race could view our language. We have thousands of different languages on Earth, and they probably have just one on their Serpo planet. That is truly amazing.
Yes, Mr. President. I cannot imagine living on a planet with just one language, but we were able to provide the basic skill level for them to communicate in English. It took time, but they realized our efforts. In one message, they provided us with a form of the Eben alphabet with the equivalent English letter. Our linguists had a very difficult time figuring this out. The written Eben language was simple characters and symbols, but our linguists had a difficult time comparing the 2 written languages. Over the next 5 years, we were able to perfect our understanding of the Eben language somewhat, and the Ebens were able to better understand English. However, we had a major problem, trying to coordinate a date, time, and location for an Eben landing on Earth. Even though we could basically understand some Eben, and the Ebens could understand some English, we could not understand their time and date system, and they could not understand ours. We sent them our Earth's rotation schedule, revolution, date system, etc. For some reason, the Ebens never understood this. In return, the Ebens sent us their system, which was difficult for our scientists to understand because we had no reference to their planet. The Ebens did not explain any astronomical date of Serpo or their system. We then decided to just send pictures showing Earth, landmarks, and a simple numbering system for time periods. We had many problems trying to send pictures using their facsimile system. We couldn't be sure they were receiving what we sent. We had a lot of trial and errors in doing this. We received back some strange messages from the Ebens, basically big question marks regarding what we sent them as to the pictures. We then decided on narrowing any future landing location for them to the location of their crash site in New Mexico. We concluded that they must have that location. We are sure EBE sent that to his home planet prior to his death. We did find some star charts, well, as we call them, in both spacecraft. They were difficult to understand because they were on a block that we later figured out went into a certain panel on the crashed craft's instruments. Once the panel was in place, the board showed a star system. In fact, we were able to fit all the found boards into the panel and view many different star systems. We then put to work our astronomers in deciphering the star systems. It didn't take them very long to determine the various star systems. We also found several strange spots on the star charts. We concluded these spots were where travel space tunnels that EBE described were located. Our astronomers compared the different star charts and found that they were not consecutive, meaning that one star chart was from one part of the universe and that the next star chart was closer to their home system. Our scientists concluded the spots on the chart were a form of shortcuts from one point of space to another. Some of our top astronomers were briefed into the program in order to study the charts. I'm sure they were given the minimum amount of information they needed, something like a need-to-know program.
So is they basically referring to wormholes? Is that kind of what, like,
Yeah, I guess what we
time tunnels
consider.
or space tunnels? That's what a wormhole is.
Yeah, that's what we've always considered wormholes. And
Right.
that was always like a theoretical idea, right?
Sure. As the easiest way to traverse the universe is to, the wormhole, which is like the equivalent of, they would say, like, folding a piece of paper and like putting a hole through it, bending space time or whatever.
Right.
Just real quick. I mean, if this is written well, I mean, if this is fake, again, which it probably is, the imagination and the attention to detail and the thought put into the stuff is pretty fascinating.
I don't have this much time.
That's what I mean.
It's taking a long time just to read it. Think about writing.
We're just
all this.
reading and coming up with a storyline. I'm impressed with it so far.
Yeah.
And again,
Great script writer.
It's fun. This is a really fun story.
Yeah.
And I want it to be real so bad because there's some juicy stuff in there. All right, let's keep going.
And especially because I recognize this next name coming in.
Oh,
They're
okay.
referring it to one of these top astronomers being Dr. Carl Sagan.
Yep.
I feel like he would have let it slip, though.
Sagan?
I feel like Sagan would have let it slip.
You do?
Yeah.
Interesting. If he was part of a presidential briefing?
If he was aware of these types of things.
Yeah.
He was too much of a friend to the public. I like to think that anyway. I don't know.
That's fun. Okay, that's fun. That's a good knowledge point there.
Rest in peace.
Okay, that is a lot to absorb. Wow, well, I have many questions, but I guess I'll just wait now. I have something to attend to now, but let's take a short break and come back to this.
W.M. Casey. Mr. President, how much time do you have left?
Well, Bill, let me check. I need to call some people on another matter. Give me about 15 minutes. Is that okay?
W.M. Casey. Yes, Mr. President, we are here at your disposal.
I have listened intently to this briefing. I have many questions which I realize traverses several different layers of secrecy. I don't want to mix up the different layers, but I can see how government bureaucracy exists. That is the one thing I can probably change as president. Bill, let's go to the next layer.
Mr. President, do you want the same people involved?
Yes. Let's just continue.
Okay, Caretaker, take over.
Thank you. When EBE was alive, he showed us two devices. One was a communication system and one was an energy device. The communication system did not work without the energy device. Eventually, a scientist from Los Alamos figured out the two systems and connected them. After EBE died, we were able to send transmissions, as I said earlier. EBE built up a strong friendship with a U.S. Army major, who was his guardian. The two of them decided that one of Eben's first messages, of the 5 sent, was a request for an exchange program between the Ebens and our military personnel. Remember I mentioned 6 messages. The 6th consisted of landing coordinates for Earth. That information wasn't clearly documented back then. We are not sure of the exact chain of events between EBE and the Major. As I said earlier, we were able to eventually communicate with the Ebens. Over a period of a few years, we could send and receive information. We finally received a startling message from the Ebens. They wanted to visit Earth, retrieve their spacemen bodies, and meet with the Earthlings. They provided a time, date, and location. We figured that the Ebens were continually visiting Earth and had probably mapped it. However, the date was about 8 years in the future. Our military figured something was wrong and that maybe the Ebens were confusing Earth time with Eben time. After a long series of messages, it was determined the Ebens would land on Earth on Friday, April 24th, 1964.
Just how did we figure the date?
Mr. President, these messages occurred over a period of several years. By this time, we both had a working knowledge of the other seasons, which was based on the Earth's rotation, which also figured into our time periods. We had a working knowledge of their 40-hour days. They were a little smarter than us, being able to comprehend our language and our time periods.
Okay, that makes sense, but I'm about the aliens.
The Caretaker. Mr. President, we did have a basic understanding of their language. We could understand basic words and symbols. They understood more of our language than we did theirs.
Okay, then what happened?
W.M. Casey. Mr. President, this is where things get very interesting. This is where it gets interesting? Yeah. This? Okay.
Okay, I'm waiting.
The Caretaker. Our government, specifically MJ-12, met in secret to plan the event. Decisions were made, then changed many times. We had just about 25 months from the time we finally received their message of the date to prepare for their arrival. Several months into the planning, President Kennedy decided to approve a plan to exchange a special military team. The USAF was tasked as the lead agency. The USAF officials picked special civilian scientists to assist in the planning and crew selection. The team members' selection process was the hardest to accomplish. Several plans were suggested and then changed. It took months for the planners to decide on the selection criteria for each team member. They decided that each member must be military, single, no children, and a career member. They had to be trained in different skills.
W.M. Casey. Caretaker. Let's just go into the general stuff here. I don't think the president wants to know every minute detail.
Well, if I had the time, I would. But I understand that.
The Caretaker. Mr. President, a team of 12 men were selected. However, during this time period, President Kennedy died. The nation was shocked, as you know.
Yes, everyone was shocked. I can understand what must have happened during the project when John died.
President Johnson continued the program. When it came time for the meeting, we were ready. The landing occurred in New Mexico. We had everything prepared. We had a hoax landing location just in case it was leaked. The landing occurred and we greeted the Ebens. However, a mix-up happened. They were not prepared to accept our exchange personnel. Everything was placed on hold. Finally, in 1965, the Ebens landed in Nevada and we exchanged 12 of our men for one of theirs.
And this is with the Project Serpo stuff that is heavily regarded as complete bullshit.
Right.
For the most part.
Right.
So basically sending a bunch of Americans away with aliens, which again is covered in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, the great movie from 1977, the best UFO movie of all time. Opens with a bunch of World War II or maybe earlier jets, like fighter jets that are found in the middle of the desert in perfect shape in the 1970s full of fuel, but no pilots. And those pilots show up at the end of the movie coming out of the UFO that lands on the airbase.
At the same age, they disappeared.
Right, which is basically what the story of Serpo is. So,
right.
Yeah.
One? Why just one?
W.M. Casey. Mr. President, this wasn't clearly documented in the reports that we read.
One? Was this their ambassador?
Well, something like that. We just called it EBE-2. We'll discuss that later.
The Caretaker. Mr. President, our team of 12 went to the Eben planet for 13 years. The original mission called for a 10-year stay. However, because of the strange time periods on their planet, the team stayed 3 additional years. 7 returned in 1978. 2 died on the planet, and 2 decided to stay. Note, team member number 308, team pilot number 2, died of a pulmonary embolism en route to Serpo on the 9-month journey. 11 arrived safely. See Release 14.
Okay, this is just amazing. I can see about that movie. The movie was based on a real event. I saw that movie. 12 men left, along with Richard Dreyfuss.
W.M. Casey. Mr. President, yes, the movie was similar to the real event, at least the last part of the movie.
Okay, a lot to digest. I want to hear about the hostile ones.
Advisor number 1. Mr. President, may I step in here?
By all means, Advisor number 1, do.
Well, Mr. President, the hostile alien species is responsible for abducting some humans. We can clearly prove some 80 Americans were abducted from about 1955 until the present. The last known one in July of last year, 1980. We have a special military intelligence unit keeping track of these abductions. We have FBI agents attached to assist us when needed. We have NSA and, in some instances, CIA personnel helping. Unfortunately, we don't have the technology to know when these hostiles will abduct. We get the information afterwards. We interview the victim and place them under hypnotic trances. Some of the victims remember the entire event without hypnosis, while others need hypnosis to relay what happened. We haven't found one single death directly related to the hostile aliens. We have had deaths that were attributed to the abductions, suicides. We recorded 5 of them. Wow. But, Mr. President, these are the abductions we know about. We have no idea how many other abductions are occurring in this country or around the world. These hostile aliens are pretty sneaky. They seem to appear and disappear, which is beyond our technical understanding. They also seem to float or defy gravity. We have actual photographs of them doing this. We have a classic abduction incident that was recorded by military intelligence personnel. It happened in 1979 near a military base.
Where?
In New Mexico.
What's with New Mexico? The aliens seem to like that state. Do we know why?
The Caretaker. Excuse me, may I speak?
Yes, Caretaker, step in.
New Mexico is similar to the home planet of the Ebens, since we do not know which planet the Trantiloids come from.
W.M. Casey. Wait, advisor number 4? Advisor number 4. I think we do. I think the Ebens gave us the information. We know the star group. It is close to our solar system. Well, I mean in astronomical terms. Maybe 20 to 25 light years away. They are actually closer to us than the Ebens are. Victor. Who's Victor? Have we heard from Victor yet?
No.
Okay. The home world of the HAV, the Trantiloids, is the 3rd planet out from the star Epsilon Eridani in the constellation Eridanus at 10.5 light years away. Although somewhat cooler and fainter than our sun, it is very similar. Hal's friend, advisor number 4. Is this Hal Puthoff? Is it supposed to be a Hal Puthoff throw in here at the last minute?
Wow, interesting.
Hal coming in from the top rope here.
Love it.
Hal's friend, advisor number 4, was mistaken on this distance. An easy error to make given the voluminous amount of information on this subject matter alone. Anomalous. Nearby star Epsilon Eridani has an Earth-like planet. It is the home world of the hostile ETs, the Trantiloids.
So that means they can travel like the Ebens travel. I mean, using those black holes or whatever you call them.
Advisor number 4. Yes, Mr. President, they can travel in the same fashion as the Ebens. However, according to the Ebens, the Trantiloids use a different form of propulsion, something like matter versus antimatter.
And that means...
Mr. President, basic physics. W.M. Casey. Mr. President, do you want to go into the physics of this?
Oh, no, I don't think I'd understand it.
Advisor number 4. I was just going to say that we know that when matter is placed next to antimatter, there is a great deal of energy released. If one could harness that into a propulsion system, that would be great, but we don't have the capability to do that.
Do we have one of their spaceships?
The Caretaker. Yes. Well, partially. A crashed one.
Okay. Can we or do we have the technical knowledge to understand it?
W.M. Casey. No, Mr. President, we don't.
We can make atomic bombs, go to Mars, and we can't understand their science?
W.M. Casey. Advisor number 4? Advisor number 4. Mr. President, their technology is probably 1,000 years more advanced than ours, maybe even more. They have different materials to work with. Some of their materials are not found on this planet.
What do you mean, like iron or elements?
Advisor number 4. Yes, Mr. President, we found many metals and other things that are not found on this planet. Maybe they have more than 104 elements, or maybe they are different than ours.
The hostile ones or the Ebens?
Mr. President, that goes for each species, although the Ebens do have similar elements as those found on Earth. But the Trantiloids have strange materials, nothing like those found on Earth. These aliens can imitate humans. They can look like blonde humans. However, they are not blonde, but ugly-looking insects.
Insects? Did you say that?
Advisor number 4. Yes. Do you have a photograph?
The Caretaker. Yes, hold on.
W.M. Casey. They are pretty nasty looking.
Well, they would stand out.
Advisor number 4. No, Mr. President. As I said, they can imitate looking like humans.
How in the world would they do that? It took a lot of makeup to make me look good in the movies.
Well, Mr. President, I can assure you they don't use makeup, at least not like we would. They have the ability to change their bodies. As I said before, they are 1,000 years ahead of us in technology and probably every other science.
They can be killed?
Yes, they are just flesh and blood like a human body. They can be killed, but their spaceships have a force field around them. They can be shot down, but it takes some doing on our part. W.M. Casey. Mr. President, we have to use small-style nuclear missiles to shoot them down, but we haven't actually done that yet. We have experimented in Nevada on the captured craft we have of theirs.
My God, I hope we haven't used atomic missiles. What does that mean? I have to give that order.
Advisor number 1. Excuse me, but Mr. President, no, we haven't used any nuclear missiles to shoot down any alien flying craft. I think advisor number 4 and the director mean that if we had to shoot one down, for instance, if a group of them attacked us.
Is that likely?
Advisor number 1. No, I don't think so.
Can we intercept their radio transmissions? Do we know their language?
Advisor number 1. We know or we can recognize their language, which is entirely different than the Ebens. They use a very high band radio system, but they have different frequencies, and it is difficult for NSA to track them.
Maybe we should call Captain Kirk. Oh, a little humor is good in any situation.
Okay, Mr. President, I'll call Scotty with more laughter.
Yeah, maybe Gene Roddenberry knows.
Advisor number 1. Our air defenses are as best prepared as we can be against any form of attack by this group.
How do we do that? I mean, do our pilots know?
Not exactly, but we have a system to cover any threat.
A war plan?
Like I said earlier, yes, Mr. President, we do have war plans just for this event or possible event.
Okay, well, I think that's enough for one day. Bill, set something up for tomorrow to finish this.
Okay, Mr. President, I'll get with advisor number 2 and Michael Deaver.
I want to thank everyone for a very thorough briefing. I was educated beyond belief. I will have a very different attitude every time I look up in the sky.
And that's when the tape ends on the apparent Ronald Reagan briefing about UFOs and aliens.
And I guess maybe just the first of 3 briefings over a 3-day period, right?
Yeah, that's what it sounds like, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
So again, I mean, it's a fun read. There's a lot of information in there. There's a lot of stuff that we've heard many times over the years, from all kinds of different folks. What are your thoughts?
It's just well done as a fan fiction piece, if that's what it is. But then again, maybe just disinformation is out there trying to tell us that this is fake because it got leaked. Whatever. Your mind can go any which way you want to look at this because it's an interesting thing. Are you taking some notes?
Yeah, I took some notes. They reference in there this idea of letting the public run with the idea of UFOs to cover up, like black projects or secret projects.
Right.
And mixing in disinformation to kind of, real truth with some bullshit.
Yeah.
So then as we're reading that part, I'm thinking, well, what if this is one of those? Like, what if this entire transcript is based on a real briefing, but they throw in stuff about Serpo and sort of not time travel, but like sending our own guys away for 10 years because they know that no one's going to believe that part of it.
Yeah.
But the rest of it could be like, maybe this is exactly what they're talking about.
Right. I have to ask, like, how does only one tape get released and not all 3?
Sure. And but were these released? I don't know if there's. I don't think.
Well, not released or leaked.
Sure.
If you have one, you might want to give out all 3.
You would think.
I just don't know. Or it's purposely leaked. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Whoever did this, it was, if it is that, they're a great script writer.
Yeah. And a very active imagination. And also they know a lot of the lore and the classic story of this topic.
Yeah. And for them to not take credit, like what's in it for them?
Sure, just like a weird troll, like a early 2000s kind of online troll before it was super cool to be a troll. They also reference in there different laws of physics, that these beings have different laws of physics
and different elements and different
which is something to this day which I think we all kind of believe to be true, that like they have advanced physics that we don't fully understand yet.
Yeah,
that's another interesting tidbit in there that kind of has some carryover to today.
Yeah.
The talk of Nixon being super interested. Have you heard the story of Richard Nixon and Jackie Gleason?
Like they're out golfing?
Do you remember what happened? Do you want to explain what happened?
You'd probably be better at it than I do.
Well, basically, Richard Nixon was apparently had a big. This is a story that is also debated heavily in the world of ufology. But this idea that Jackie Gleason was buddies with Richard Nixon, and they were like drinking one night, just the two of them.
That's right.
And Nixon said, basically, do you want to see an alien? Jackie Gleason, of course, from The Toy, the classic, Jackie Gleason, the comedian from the 60s, 70s. So Nixon took Jackie Gleason to a military base, drove in his personal car. At the gate, they just obviously it's the president, so like, you just go ahead, sir. And apparently brought him in and showed Jackie Gleason a being in like a freezer. And after that meeting, I believe Jackie Gleason even built a house from scratch in the woods shaped like a UFO.
Yeah, that's right, like a flying saucer.
So it's a fun story. What else is in there? There's talk of Zeta Reticuli.
Yeah, I was just about to mention the same words.
About how they know, they're saying in this where they know where they're from, but talking to people involved to this day, the overwhelming sense is that we still don't know where they're from. So I know in the 80s, it was like a cool idea to think they were from Zeta Reticuli. And maybe it's true, but I don't think...
Isn't that where the messages came from in that movie Contact with Jodie Foster?
Yes, it's also where... Betty and Barney Hill, when they had their abduction in New Hampshire in the 50s, through hypnosis, they drew a star map for Zeta Reticuli before it had been discovered.
Wow, I did not know that.
It's incredible.
I know of that story, but not of that detail.
So I believe it was Betty that, through hypnosis, drew this star system on like a napkin or a piece of paper.
Wild.
And she said, like, this is where they told us they were from. And then it took like another, I don't know if it was 10, 20 years until Zeta Reticuli was discovered, and it matched exactly what she had drawn.
What a trip.
Which is awesome. Wow. That's interesting.
Wow.
I also like the idea they touch on in this time when like they were sensing the public was starting to believe in UFOs as a whole, and how that was becoming a bit of a problem.
Yeah, that's always been a balancing act in my head, as disclosure slowly leaks out and people become more aware, or there's just people like us that actually research this shit and find so much interest in it. Like there's so much to look at. What percentage of it is bullshit that we get fed out? What is like purposefully given to us? What is actually leaked? That's like where studying this whole area gets so frustrating.
Yeah.
I actually get frustrated. And, like when you sent this to me and said, hey, we should actually like read this as like a cool thing. I'm like, oh God, like the skeptic in me like says like, oh, do I really want to read this and push this type of thing? But
we're not
it's
pushing
good
it.
to. No.
Yep.
But it does give like good thought into those possibilities being real of, a lot of the information that we get out there. Like what is real? Like we get these documents and things from FOIA, and what can we actually trust? Like even just the radar footage and everything, could they have fabricated for that just to keep us busy for a while and just for us to make a million more YouTube videos to talk about? And they're just over in DC or in Los Alamos just laughing at us. And and realistically, like there's nothing at Los Alamos. They just go underground and just have coffee or play chess there or something.
There's stuff at Los Alamos.
Oh, I know, but like,
there's stuff at Los Alamos.
but makes me doubt everything.
I know. Another cool thing they touched on, we're also realizing that from the very beginning that the UFO program was probably tucked away by the Atomic Energy Commission and the Department of Energy. So as a way to, because if it puts off any kind of nuclear anything, they can immediately hide it into an energy program, which is kind of how they thought it was hidden from the beginning.
Huh.
So to keep it out of like the Air Force or whatever, to keep it somewhere where it can be privatized and buried, and because you can't release nuclear information, like it's illegal because people can build bombs or whatever. So it's an easy way to hide the UFO shit, because if they are nuclear or put off radiation, you can just tuck it away in there. And they referenced the first commission chairman of the Department of Energy, Dr. David Lilienthal. So just another little, like a tidbit of like connecting the energy world to the UFO problem.
What were your thoughts on when they discussed the hostile ones being more insect-like, but that can look like blonde humans? Like, is that what we consider the Nordics?
That throws me off, because to me the Nordics are just the Nordics. They're just their own, and I think I believe that might be where. No, Zeta are the Greys. The Nordics come from supposedly. Now I'm blanking on it, but whatever. They have their own spots. So that's the first I've really heard of like the mantis or insect type changing into Nordics.
Yeah,
but
usually that's like a more of a reptilian type of thing, is being able to.
Yeah, just the kind of the scary, more hostile ones.
Yeah.
The Nordics are supposed to be like ones that are kind of protectors of Earth and kind of more relate to us. But when you listen to almost every abduction tale, not tale, but every abduction claim that's been spoken about, the Greys are involved.
Yeah.
And often it'll be a team of 3 little Greys that are kind of task people. And I'm just learning now that usually they work in groups. They each kind of have their own role, but they work as a team. Only one of them will handle instruments, handle tools.
Really?
So whether it's not scalpels, but only one will kind of be in charge of actually doing examinations. And sometimes behind them will be one tall Grey kind of overseeing their work, or one tall mantis type, insect type thing that seems to be the one who are in charge of even the tall Greys and the small Greys.
You're describing my next nightmare.
Yeah. They kind of just like, there's like a mantis type tall thing in the background of this craft, sometimes with a hood on, just kind of like overseeing. And I got goosebumps.
Whoa.
I mean, I'm grateful that I've not experienced an abduction, or at least that I don't remember one. And I feel for people that are going through that. I mean, as you know, I'm going through a time right now where I'm like heavily investigating abductions and deep diving, like abduction, how the systems work and like who oversees it. And kind of that's how I'm learning about like the mantids kind of being overseeing, or the tall Greys. And just learning that one uses the tool. It's just fascinating.
Yeah. Really
so
wild.
Also this idea that they're aware of 80 abductions, and how they at least acknowledge like, and we don't know how many we don't know about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it's a fun read. It's a fun read.
I know. I mean, we obviously just read the whole thing, but I suggest, people give it a read and a listen. I'd love to hear what people think.
Yeah.
So throw that in the comments if you guys have anything, that you're curious about or something that we missed.
Sure. And obviously, like I'm going to say right now, I don't believe this is a real transcript from a real recording. Same. But I kind of do. I'm on board with a lot of it being accurate as far as like the way things might work, or some information shared.
Right.
I do believe, obviously I believe we have recovered craft. I believe we have recovered bodies. I think we've had living beings in our not possession, but we've had living beings.
And that there have
here.
been briefings extraordinarily similar to this.
Sure.
That might be just way more mind-blowing than this.
Yeah.
Most likely are.
But again, I want this to be real. So I would love to have an acknowledgement that these conversations have happened, and to someday even like Can you imagine seeing a video of Nixon being read in, or of Clinton or George W. Bush? Actually, I don't
Or
think,
him and Jackie Gleason drunk next to an alien body. That photo.
yeah, dude. Well, George Herbert Walker Bush, the first Bush president, what used to be the old director of the CIA, and it's long been known that he definitely, for sure, knew
He was
the
ready
deal
to
with this
everything.
shit.
Yeah.
So he's someone who would maybe get a briefing, but would also, when he was briefed, have quite the head start already.
Yeah.
Like he could be like, "Move along, I know this part."
Yeah.
Or it's
Oh my God. It just frustrates me how many potential people know so much information out there that died with this information and like didn't have any public deathbed confessions. I mean, other than, a couple that have been Hal, that was, I would, still consider a deathbed confession.
Malmgren.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And apparently there's more. That's one thing when I was with George Knapp in Vegas last August, we were talking about deathbed confessions, and I asked him, I'm like, how come there's not more like deathbed confessions? We need some more of those things, because there used to be, back in the day, there was quite a few of those from the Roswell folks and people. And he told me, he goes, "Oh, there are some, and you might be seeing one in not too long." And now I kept wondering, like, was that Malmgren, or is he talking about a different one? But I know George is aware of other deathbed.
Right. And I'm sure that just so many people are just scared for, like, it could affect their family or whoever else. Yeah.
Yep. Anyway.
Oh my God. Isn't it just the perfect subject to hide if you're in power? It's like the easiest one to hide.
The best.
Like,
the best.
Like, you imagine for a second, you're the person that has all this information and just knows everything about all of this. Like, you could laugh all day, every day, because like you could just sprinkle out some shit here, some shit there, put these people and like scare them into thinking that like all the power is in your hands.
Yep. And at a certain point, the wilder you can think, the most wildest thing you can think of, someone's going to believe it and pass it on as truth.
Yep.
So you can kind of sit back and laugh, or just it keeps you in cover. It keeps people confused, and confusion is one of the best tools you can possibly use.
Yeah. Well, I had fun with this.
Me too, dude. We'll do more stuff like this and maybe something shorter next time, but it was still fun to read through. Thank you, James, for your contributions with your Ronald Reagan. He told me, because he pre-recorded his parts, and he told me his voice was thrashed at the end from doing
I believe it.
Doing his Reagan. So James Landrith, thank you so much for that. And thank you guys for listening to this episode. This is fun. This is different. Just a nice excuse to get together and geek out over some fun UFO shit.
Yeah, the truth is out there.
Yeah, and we just uncovered it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you guys, and we'll be back with another one soon. And Chad, always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure, buddy.
Later.
Later, Dan.
They are